month and a half ago, when they were gung-ho about getting a demo permit, I said, I can't authorize a demo permit unless I have that fire prevention manual in my hand. How are you guys gonna handle this stuff? So they submitted the permit the following day, and I told them, don't bother even submit the permit unless you got the manual, because that's the only thing I'm gonna review. I mean, it's a demo, it's a big deal. I'm gonna review the fire prevention part of it. They never submitted it. And they were told and told and told, and finally we got pressure because this former assistant city manager is the liaison with the county on that project. We got so much bloody pressure that they managed to talk the captain into saying, well, we'll just get it later. So they got their permit.
That's scary.
Well, that's government for you, you know? Where is at the top of the food chain?
Top of the food chain.
We've issued a permit, or going to be issuing a permit for that outside construction hoist.
For Eastland?
For the Eastland.
Yeah.
Boy, their job trailer's huge down there.
They tried to get, the company that was going to put it up just thought they could come in and put it up, only I ran into the guy that said, oh, we can't do that.
Without any licensing and permitting?
Yeah, you gotta get licensed people, and he says, I got my brother's licensed, and he had to get a permit, and he had, because he's putting it into another code, so I had to give him a variance from our code to that code, and
Yeah. Well, they got a permit from us, but again, they still gotta come to you, and we've told them up front that we've had probably 5 or 6 major meetings with them, and from the get-go, we said, you better sit down with Stan Quinn and
Fire
find out what
marshal.
you need on that.
well, the other thing is, because
This is him.
he said, well, I'm gonna be using the elevators inside the hotel.
Okay.
And so, he didn't have a clear idea, and I said, well, their certificates are good until the end of February. And then he got interrupted, but I didn't have time to tell him that once he starts removing his smoke detectors, elevators won't be able to be run the same way they've always been run.
Yeah, so I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna change those out for heats during the construction.
Okay.
That's my suspicion, because the captain pushed to have them put heat detectors, because they're gonna demo the sprinkler system out there too. They're leaving the automatic standpipe and fire pump in operation.
Okay.
But the sprinklers on the floors are gonna get demoed. They're demoing everything right up.
Right, he said, because when I saw him, the super for the job says we're not moving ahead because we haven't got a permit for demo because we still got tenants in here. And he said,
Yeah, I think the tenants finally were out earlier this week, finally. I'm not certain about that, but that's what they told us was gonna happen by the 1st of October. But they're really complaining about putting heat detectors up there on those floors. They're gonna have a fire watch roaming the building 24/7. We require it because of the
size of the building
yeah,
and
size
the
of
location.
And they still have the Manual Pole Stations Act, and I told them they're gonna have some sort of evacuation alarm on each floor. So if there happens to be a worker up there, they'll know they need to leave. So we might, still talking to Catwood, we might waive the heat detectors for the whole floor, except for the detectors for the elevators. Now, the elevators on the other end, I don't know that those are, well, those are getting rebuilt. The main elevators are getting redone. That was my understanding.
Yeah, and then the service car, down in the old service car, and that's off those 3 front ones, that one there is supposed to get completely demoed and rebuilt. And
It's the one that's on the far end, all the way down to the bottom of the hill, that they're still using.
Yep. And if he's using that, then you guys want heat detectors, that's fine with me. Once they get put in, then they've got to retest them to make sure they're still working properly.
Now, let me ask you this, they've got a code for the elevator to go to the roof, the penthouse. You hit roof and then you get 913. Is that a standard thing on those elevators? Is that a standard code, or is that, so we have no idea if we go into it?
You go into it, you hit, put it on fireman service.
Yeah, I know that'll override anyhow.
Override it, and you can go up.
But like if we're, our ambulances don't have fireman service keys. So if they have a contractor up on the roof, or on level 12,
Yeah.
that's gonna be, because we don't require the elevator keys in the Knox boxes, because our fire trucks all have them.
You know what you can do is tell them you want that code removed, because it's under construction. The only reason you had that code in there was to keep the tenants from going up on the roof.
Yeah.
So the elevator company can go in there and remove that program.
But I think they probably also use, IDC, who's a general contractor. I think they're gonna fight that because they've got so many subs in there, and there are certain subs that are authorized to be in certain sections of the building in order to keep the subs from going where they're not supposed to be.
Well then,
Because they actually, as a part of the fire prevention plan, they have a log in, log out. Every sub is issued a radio on the premises. They're allowed to be in certain places. They're not allowed to be just roaming throughout the building, so. Because they have to have an accounting for every person in that building while it's under construction.
the other thing you can do, if you want to, is require them to have the fire service key right at that elevator. So that when your med queue comes in, they can turn it. They can take the key out of the little thing and turn it.
Yeah.
Because I met the guy, whenever you're ready, just
Yeah.
yell at us and
We'll wait for Pete to come back in.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I have no problem you having them have that key right
What do you do with it? Hang it on a hook?
hanging on the hook, and, or give some keys to make you. Because then you got it, or have them, because if they're supposed to not be there, I mean, people are gonna be going up on the roof with that thing, and something tells me that code is gonna be like keys for elevators in high schools.
And it's a funny thing, because you gotta wait for the elevator doors to close before you enter the key, the combo. I've only seen one other building where they had that. They did that down at Fort Canal Plaza because it was vacant on the upper floors and they didn't want
People wandering up.
street people sleeping, because they found street people. I mean, they literally had to go around and secure all the windows, because they go through and try to jimmy the windows and get in there and go to sleep in the building. I got a question about elevator shaft venting, which I know we had a discussion about that like a month and a half ago on the phone.
I got a call yesterday from the architect on my way to Dover Foxcroft, and
Yeah.
he said, you got any requirements? And they said, yes, venting shall meet local building code. So,
But the problem is MUBEC,
right.
they completely eliminated the whole chapter on elevators.
And I haven't read the chapter, but my thought is that they just said, well, there's the elevator board that controls elevators.
Exactly.
So we're
But
eliminating.
the problem is the elevator board doesn't control.
Right, my code kicks it back to the
That's
local building code, so I told the architect, I says, because he said, well, the local people said it was you, so I said, okay.
Because it's the only way we got to go
Yeah.
by.
I said, call the fire marshal. I said, if there is no van in there, we're not gonna say anything. I said, but if there is a van and it doesn't look right, we're gonna question it. So he was gonna call up it.
I think there's a 4-story or higher question, if I remember right from the building.
I said, how tall is this? Trying to get him, he said, 3 floors, and there's overnight occupancy. So I said, you better check with the fire marshal, see if they want it, because
And he said he was gonna do that, but I don't think they're gonna tell him anything. I mean, the best thing that's gonna happen maybe is to get old Rich McCarthy, and Rich says, well, we'll look at the code and see if we need to make an amendment, but I mean, this building code, it's such a joke. I mean, they didn't adopt half the chapters in it, and the ones they did adopt, now they've got a huge bloody conflict that they're trying to iron out between NFPA and ICC.
Right, because when they came up with MUBEC, it was there, and what they did is they said, well, we have, you know, the fuel board, we have the elevator board, we
Yeah,
have.
so they just
plumbing
eliminated
board.
all of those chapters and deferred to them, but those guys are all enforcing installation standards.
Right.
There's no, I mean, it's the building code that tells you what features you need, not the installation standard.
Yeah, because I just attended a meeting, and the lady was going over the IBC as it relates to elevators,
Yeah.
and the use of elevators as a means of egress, and all that. I mean, she's talking where the code is written for high-rise buildings, but you gotta have it separated, you gotta have it
There's tons of that stuff that defer back to the building code. And the
Right,
fire
my
code.
code always kicks it back per local plumbing code, per local building
It's
code.
like the type 1 hoods, if you don't need a suppression system for a kitchen. Well, my code doesn't really deal with it unless you're getting into industrial ovens. The building code always dealt with it, so we've always had it in Portland because we had a building code before the state forced us to go to their code. Well,
Now
the
you got,
bloody architects convinced the state to wipe out that whole chapter that gets you to the mechanical code. And instead they adopted an ASHRAE, which is nothing but an air quality standard. Has nothing to do with kitchen hood venting. So there's no standard anymore for it. It's very, very short-sighted. I mean, and on top of that, what they did, they're trying to correlate, but these two codes were never meant to be correlated. It was always meant to be the more restrictive. That's always the way it's been applied. So they're trying to change all of this stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. If they really wanted the codes correlated, they should have adopted the FAA building code, because it is correlated. ICC will never be correlated with NFPA, because they can't get along.
yeah,
They tried 10 years ago. They can't get along.
they spent years trying to get.
All the other consensus organizations could get along, and they created ICC, but NFPA couldn't. They got into lawsuits and everything else about proprietary information.
It took A17-1, which is the elevator code for US, and B44, which is the Canadian code, probably 10 years to harmonize themselves, and it's still not totally harmonized. There's an awful lot of paragraphs if you're enforcing NBCC, which is the National Building Code of Canada, then you do this. If not, then you don't do this, but
That doesn't make any sense if they just went with the ANSI standard and like an FPA does. An FPA says you'll install it with a standard, except that you will do it, and it's in this code, it's not in the elevator code. Anyways,
Sorry,
he's back. You get it all straightened out there?
that was actually my school, my kid's school. The educational system is just unbelievable. They're so bent out of shape on these scores. You have any kids in grade school?
Yeah, second.
Yeah, mine's in second grade too, and they have these. It sounds like kneecap, but it's not kneecap. It's something cap. And the kid has to like test out at a certain level, or the school doesn't get funding, so they're bent out of shape on these test scores. But our school that he goes to totally sucks because like they don't tell you, hey, your kid's gonna have all this testing next week. So you run like, so we went to the Freiburg Fair Monday night. And we got home at like 11,
Yeah.
and then Tuesday you had testing. It's like.
He's falling asleep in the middle of his test paper, right?
Yeah, and then now the teachers are like, well, and they sent home one of the testing sheets, and I freaked out because I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, there's like all these like notes all over it. I'm like, my son is like flunking out of school. What's going on? And they're like, oh no, your son is a star student. And I'm like, well, why'd you send this paper home? Why don't you explain it to me?
They don't score kids like that anyways. When we went to school, you got an A, B, C, D, or F.
No, they don't even do that
They
now.
don't do that.
Improve.
It's P's and E's and
Yeah,
P
it's like-
pluses and.
Satisfactory,
It says it needs- it
unsatisfactory,
says-
that meets the standard.
Yeah,
They
it
don't,
says
they
on
don't
it-
score any of the papers anymore.
No.
It used to be you got a paper back and you had a
Everybody
grade
gets a
on it.
ribbon. Everybody's a winner.
my grandson came home and he's doing math. So I'm watching him do division, and multiplication, and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, what are you doing? He said, well, show me how you multiply. So I did it the way I'm taught.
Yeah, they have a new way now.
Oh, no, that's not, he's doing this, and he's block over here, and he comes out with the
Oh, he's
same
doing
answer.
plotting? Yeah.
But I'm like, okay.
So that was the teacher. She was all
Most kids
freaking
can't
out.
add anymore anyways. My sister was 10 years my junior. She repeated senior year twice because my mother forced the school to do it. She still can't write. She's got a high school diploma, but you cannot read or writing, she cannot
They don't
spell.
teach cursive anymore. Cyrus was, because we showed him how to write his name in cursive, and he's been writing it on his top of his tests. His
Well,
name
all
in
that
cursive.
stuff,
The teacher
LOL and
signed
all of
it.
that, that's her primary language.
You can't do that.
And she misspells the LOL, so.
Have you seen the Declaration of Independence? Are you teaching kids not how to read cursive now? Because that's what it's in.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
What we have here is, I'm really just gonna open it up to questions, but I'll show a couple of videos. We can look at some of the inspections that we looked at for 264 state. We can also look at some, if I have it here, some slideshows from downtown walkarounds, because whenever I go to many cities, I always do downtown walkarounds on my own, and I photograph a lot of your fire escape down here, just to see how old it is, what's the average. On the fire escapes, have people been maintaining? Am I finding a lot more original hardware? Because a lot of your fire escapes in your area is going to be 50, 75, if not 100 years old. And when you look up at them, you're going to find them that they don't have any maintenance. There's some paint on them, and sometimes no paint on them and no maintenance. But a lot of times you're going to get some of them with paint on them, but no maintenance, meaning all the original hardware or rivets are going to be there. So let's start off with a couple things. All these classes I'll then show you already exist, because we've done classes from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, Chicago to Texas, Washington, D.C. to San Diego. So we've done these classes and we've recorded them and we've put them online so that you can always go back and review. I got a recording going on now that you can actually use this for whoever didn't make the class. I'll send you the link to it, send it to them. We started the National Fire Escape Association for that purpose, and that is because we happen to house, and it's funny that you guys are talking about the NFPA and all these, we by default started housing so much information on fire escapes because nobody else was looking for it, so we found it. And I've been at this since, I'm 51, I've been at this since I was 11 years old with my dad, meaning in the ornamental ironwork field, and then I shot off into fire escapes only. And my first customer, my best customer was Harvard University. And then from that knowledge, I got so much information that I found that this is a national problem. So what I said, you know, let me start gathering this information, start recording and documenting this information. And then just recently this year, it's still under construction. It's called the National Fire Escape Association.org. You go there and all our video and all our seminars are there. Just click and it'll take you to a class somewhere. And a lot of times after our class, we'll do a downtown walk around and we'll actually test you on what you just learned in class to say, because you don't have to walk them anymore from the ground. You'll look up and you'll be able to instantaneously say this is in good order or not good order. Just the same way you inspect your fire trucks and say that the ladder is bent and you don't have to get on it to say it's bent. Your hoses, you'll be able to look at a hose. We're going to teach you all the tricks. But the main key here is we're going to teach you what you've been doing wrong as an inspector, what the engineers have been doing wrong as inspectors, and what the vendors have been doing wrong as repair guys. Once we tell you what the 3 problems were and what the 3 answers are, then she's going to self-correct slowly. Took 75 years to screw this thing up. It's not going to take 75 years to fix it, but there is some things that have to happen. The codes are already there, and we're going to go right into the codes and say they're there. Don't have to change anything, but if you want to modify the codes, either using local ordinance, fire rules and regs on that level, which I'll tell you what states have done that, or the next change that occurs, get in there and just add some additional verbiage to the already existing code, which is what Portland, Oregon did. So in 2012 of this year, January 15th, our standard, not our standard, but our communication to them and what they should be done, they actually put that language into the code. So we'll give you Portland, Oregon's language so that you can either make it as an ordinance or make it as a fire, you guys have a terminology when you change in your own city some fire code? But
yeah,
just look,
talk about rules and then talk about rules.
and then we'll go into the next time there is a code, a state code change, you're going to walk in there and jam this little piece that basically describes more of what's already in there. And so that way it'd be kind of funny that Portland, Oregon and Portland, Maine basically, you know, because I have 1 state down, 49 to go. So now we can do 2 states down and 48 to go, and we'll sort of sandwich the country between the two Portlands and get it done. So the first thing that I'm going to show you guys is the
But right now, firefighters are taking down the lines and rolling up the hoses.
Bridgeport.
But
Just happened
earlier
about
tonight,
6 months ago.
there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in their fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
About 50 people were displaced inside this building. Our firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in except the 1 unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
Now, the problem they had was it didn't continue to ground, right? The fire
No, they had ladders. and you just saw a little 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-old girl trying to get down a ladder that wasn't coming down.
All right, because when they were interviewing the chief there, it sounded like they were on the fire escapes and couldn't get off, he said.
Yeah, because the ladders weren't working.
There you go, so it didn't continue to go around.
Right, I mean, the ladders were there, but they were inoperational.
Yeah.
But the main point that I always show this slide is to basically say, is this a firefight or a, what you guys call a, when you arrive, when you have people stuck on the building, are you, it's not, you're not fighting the fire, it's a rescue mission.
Yeah.
Those valuable 3, 5, 10 minutes of time, rescue mission, what's the fire do for you? Wait, hang out? It basically could be the difference between a salvage, keeping the building or losing the building, because as you're sitting there, you know, the fire escapes are made for self-evacuation. They're not made for you guys to use. They're made for people to get out of the building themselves, and then when you get there, you guys have all these ways to get into a building other than a fire escape. You actually use the fire escape in case all hell breaks loose. You use the fire escape for the same reason, for self-evacuation. Or in some cases, if you don't have time, don't have ladders, don't have the equipment, you use it to get into the building. But the last thing you ever want to do, get into a fire escape, is help people get off the fire escape. Because now, it's a rescue mission instead of fighting fires. And those valuable minutes could be the difference in people's lives and the building just getting out of control. So, you guys remember the Station 9 fire? Down in Boston, right? 2003?
Yep.
You remember? Say again?
He wasn't Boston.
I'm sorry, down in Rhode Island.
West Warwick.
Channel 7 called me back in 2003, called everybody, looking for some information on fire escapes, because they wanted to do a little 1-minute piece on fire escapes and say, hey, in case of fire, learn evacuation plans, learn how to get out, take care of yourself, and they sort of wanted to tie in fire escapes. I told her, Hank Philippi Ryan, I said, hey, do you know that 75% of all the fire escapes I look at don't pass inspection? She goes, no, I don't believe that. I said, you know that at least 50% of those that I look at have some sort of life safety issue associated. She goes, no, I don't believe that, because we have these codes, we have these laws, and if you flip your book around, that's what happened in 1972 in Boston to change the code from fire escapes must be maintained at all times to every 5 years, prove it to me that the fire escaped. So she goes, no, the code's are there. She goes, I said, let's go down to the theater district down by Wilbur Theater and stuff like that. Like you have a theater district. I said, I gave her a 15-minute training. I said, this is what a bad gusset looks like, full of rust. That's what a falling tread looks like, and that's what blown cement looks like. Pretty simple training, right? And then I said to her, now, let's go look at fire escapes. She goes, show me some fire escapes. I says, no, pick any one you want down here. We'll walk all these alleys, and you tell me which ones in your eyes pass. So she walked down, and her 1-minute show that she wanted to do turned into about a 4 to 5 minute piece. And this is what she came up with.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I was scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
When the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here, for months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results. Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, at apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Yeah.
Did you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Wright.
Channel 13 News.
So that that sent some shockwaves through there, and it was in 2003, almost 10 years ago, that they did this. So since 10 years ago, we've been doing seminars nationwide, using this story to basically say this is just not a Boston problem. Same problem in Seattle, same problem in Beaumont, Texas, same problem in Chicago, same problem here. The issue has been that you guys. There's been several things happening, and it usually involves a catastrophe or a death of some kind, and then everybody comes back and yells at you for not doing your job.
At least for the next 3 or 4 days, and then it blows out of the media and it's back,
Back to normal.
business is normal.
So that's, you know, she died. She survived by landing. Look at all the pieces flying, and the fireman with one hand saved himself. And from the 4th floor, he held on. And he's alive today. They celebrated the 40th year of this event just recently. All the codes are there. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to tell you what we've done to answer these problems. The best code that says it the easiest, NFPA. Which code you guys use? The
NFPA.
NFPA, then perfect. The authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape that has been shown by load test. We'll stop right there. That's it. So right away, how do you guarantee all the ladders on every truck in there?
Load testing just like we do our ground ladders on our fire trucks.
Exactly. So anything else? Can we wink it? Can we opinion it? You guys want to start taking opinions on those things?
I don't have an opinion.
Would you allow somebody to, somebody from the legislature or somebody from, just to come in and say, you know what, this is just too much money load testing these ladders. From now on, we want your best guesstimate on those. Would all the firemen just basically say, not a problem, yeah, let's save some dollars and let's not load test anymore our fire escape truck ladders and our standing ladders? Would you guys just stand by and let that happen to save money?
Well,
it's your last line of defense, right? Yeah. For you guys, right? Okay. Fire escapes is the second means of egress on every building. So forget that the fire escape is on the outside. Let's put the staircase inside. I've just gutted my building up here in Portland, and I said I needed some extra closet space, and I took out my second stairs in the back, because I needed to expand my closet. Would you guys let me continue occupying that building? As soon as you found out? 'Cause I didn't tell you, by the way, I just did it. But you walked in doing one of your little alarm inspections or whatever, smoke detector inspection, I said, okay, I need to walk out the back door. I says, I took it away. I'm needed. I only come in the front. Would you let me occupy that building, or you shut it down immediately?
Shut it down.
Well, I've got fire escapes in your city that don't have an interior staircase, and the exterior staircase is totally gone. It's not even existing. So let's just, you only have one way into that building, which is 264 State. Then we should shut it down. But the problem with fire escapes is it doesn't happen. People think that there's still enough left on the fire escape. It's almost like a parachute that, you know, whatever you can't use, you'll just jump from and somehow you'll float to the ground. But fire escapes, that's the problem. They're the bastard child of egress. And they were good 25, 50 years ago. They're no good today because they still have their original hardware. And in a particular building, you're looking at a building that's already gone through 2 or 3 window changes since it was put up. It's gone through 2 or 3 roof changes since it was put up. It's gone through 2 or 3 boiler changes since it went up. It's gone through 2 or 3 electrical changes since it was put up. And it's gone through some, but you know what never got any attention? The fire escape. Ever. Ever. And so all we do is basically make you aware that that occurred, and let's find out why that occurred and how it happened. But shown by load test or other satisfactory evidence of strength to have adequate strength. We're about to tell you what other evidence of strength is, because we're not here to push load test on anybody. Load test is actually a situation where you're moving a lot of bags around, a lot of water around, a lot of cabling around, whatever it may be, and we think we have enough to give you the word guarantee using other evidence of strength, which is in the refurb. But we also teach you that if somebody spot repairs any fire escape, you're always going to go back to load test, because they leave behind one rivet, one bolt that's 50, 75, or 100 years old. There's not even a question. It's going to get load tested. You eliminate those rivets, bolts, and connections into the wall, and you prove to me other evidence of strength that is equal to or greater than a load test, then there is no load test. And that's all I'm going to talk about today. These 3 codes, they work with each other. Your International Fire Code says testing and certification. Any fire escape system found to be in a state of deterioration or unsafe shall be repaired immediately. Depending upon structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. Isn't that what it says here? Load test? Depending on structural condition. Isn't that other evidence of strength? So if I don't give you other evidence of strength, which is depending on the structural condition, what will you automatically order? What's the first word in your mouth every day? Load test. So I will work, I'll go beyond the necessary to get you away from the load test. So I have to really shine when it comes to providing you with other evidence of strength. The International Building Code says, testing and certification, all exterior fire escape systems shall be examined. That's a confidence test. That's a cursory walkthrough. Tested, which means spot repaired and then load tested, or certified for structural adequacy and safety, which means fully refurbished in lieu of a load test. Now, what's the advantage of a load test and full refurbishment? I'll refurbish a fire escape today for you, and then 5 years from now, when you order me another load test, I'm going to try my damnedest to give you other evidence of strength, which saying, hey, we just changed those bolts 5 years ago, man. I don't think we should do a load test. The average lifespan of a fully refurbished fire escape before you really start looking at load testing again is 20 years, 20 to 25 years. Because we're going to constantly keep giving you other evidence of strength. Can you override us and say, I don't care, I want a load test. It's been 15 years, I'm kind of, I want to see a load test on this thing. The building is old, it's kind of leaning a little bit, give me a load test. Yeah, I can't do anything. Because you're right, in all 3 codes you have the right. You know what I'm saying? And the word satisfactory evidence really comes back to you. If you are not satisfied, so I can look at one building for you in town and you order a load test, but I can order another one for you and you say, I'm satisfied. And there is no load test. and you're both in the right, because the law gives you that. Okay? So let's talk about, and open it up to questioning what we've done and how I call it, and I started briefly speaking about it today. What's the perfect storm of stupidity that occurred out there? Sadly, started with you guys. You and building inspectors. Because you wrote nice violations. Guess what you wrote? For 25, 50, 75 years, every time you walked up to a fire escape. First words on a violation.
Give me a letter.
No, you have to do that. Oh, don't go there. You walk up to a fire escape and it's all rusty. What's the first thing you tell the people to do? Scrape and paint it. Right? You never tell them go get
Building
it.
inspector before me.
Huh?
Yeah. Building inspector before me.
But everybody before you was basically, you walk up and say, man, get this thing scraped and painted. So the owner gets this violation that says scrape and paint, and you noticed a bolt or a tread that didn't look so hot, or some rust in one connection. And you wrote that in there too. You said, scrape and paint your fire escape and fix that tread. The owner got the violation in the mail or handed to him. The owner gets it and says, let me get some numbers for this. Calls Jack the painter. Jack, I got a 5-story, full of staircase fire escape with a cantilever at the bottom, you know, how much? The guy comes down and says, man, this is a big monster here. Guy in his head, you know, kind of $1,000 a floor, $5,000, I'll paint this thing for you. I goes, oh, can you write that up? Give me a thing, because this guy wrote me a violation. That never bothered me before, but this guy's busting my cannolis now. Sure, here's a price, $5,000. He says, great. But he says, hey, but when I was up there and I was looking, there's a couple of treads loose. He goes, oh, okay, I know. You know, you should call my other friend Bob, the ironworker guy down the street. So he calls Bob, the ironworker down the street, says, hey, I got a violation, and it says fix a tread. How much for you to fix that tread? And this guy goes, oh, let me go look at it and see if there's anything else besides that one. So he walks the fire escape, does an impromptu inspection. Because he's looking for work, right? Isn't that an impromptu inspection? He goes, oh. Comes back down and says, hey, dude, it's not just that one tread. It's got rust all over the thing, and it's got rust in some of and the cement is pulling out of the walls. Guy goes, oh, okay, well, thanks. How much to fix that? Well, I can do all the floors. I can fix them. And he goes, because I got Jack the painter's got to paint the thing. He goes, oh, no, I can paint it too. I can fix it and I can paint it. Okay, 5 floors with a cantilever. How much? Oh, it's got to be about 20 grand. Guy goes, oh, okay. Can you give me a proposal? So he now has 3 pieces of paper in front of him. He has your violation, and it says specifically, scrape and paint, fix the tread. So, you think he's going to call an engineer? Because you already told him. See, he thinks you're the inspector, and you've already told him what to do. He's going to tell you exactly. He's going to do exactly what you said in that violation. So you're part of the reason why this thing went down for the past 75 years. Because the inspectors would write a standard maintenance document that says scrape and paint your fire escape, which is standard maintenance. And so he's going to use that. Then he's got Bob for 5 grand to paint it. And he's Jack. He says, hey Jack, you said 5 grand to scrape and paint the fire escape. Jack, can you put a couple of bolts in that loose tread? He goes, yeah, I can do that. You give me the job, I'll do that. The guy that was going to do the right job was Bob for 20 grand. Because that's really who you wanted to get this job done. But the owner now took advantage of that. He said, okay, I've got this document that says scrape and paint it. So he does. He gets Jack to do the scrape and paint. Fix that one tread. And then as soon as he's done, oh, by the way, do I need a permit to scrape and paint any fire escape?
Not by the fire department.
Nobody needs a permit. Nowhere in the United States do you need a permit. So who else have I eliminated? So we're not calling the structural engineers to come and help us, which you thought was going to be the natural step for this guy. And we're not pulling a permit, so who's doing the job? Is it really a painting guy with a license and insurance and workers' comp, or is it a landscaper guy that's going to kind of wing this thing?
And we go over does it for the cheapest price.
Does he need a permit or insurance or anything?
Not to paint.
And with today's EPA rules with lead laws, you think that's a concern for these people today? But we're still back in the day. So he gets it all painted, pays the guy his 5 grand, which is, I'm already going high on the number on the 5 grand. And then he calls you and says, hey, I've taken care of your violation. Can you come and see it? You're very busy. You got a lot of things. And not high on your priority is walking 5-story fire escapes. Because you said that. in case of fire, don't use the,
Fire escape.
who told you that?
The other guys.
The gray-haired guys, right? They said, hey, let me give some words of wisdom over here to Ben. Ben, in case of fire, never use a fire escape under any circumstances. Because a buddy of mine fell through a tread, another buddy of mine, the railing let go, another buddy of mine, they got horror stories, and they say, don't, rule of thumb, never use a fire escape. So now here you just wrote a violation, you told the guy scrape and paint, fix the tread, and he goes, do you want to walk it? What do you say?
No, most likely, quite frankly, the understaffing, we're going to say, send us a digital photo of what you've done.
Send us the digital photo, or you'll drive by, roll down your window, look up and confirm what? That it got painted, right? Did you get a document from a structural engineer saying that it's structurally sound and has been kept painted? No.
Well, back then, they may not. Now we require them to do a special inspection report.
Okay, well, we'll get there.
Which was that letter that...
We'll get there.
Dreaded letter.
We'll get there in a second, because that's an opinion letter. We're going to try to eliminate opinion letters, because we have some answers for all the people that have made mistakes. So the engineer didn't get involved anymore. You just eliminated the building department from collecting a few bucks on that $5,000 permit to make a few bucks to pay, you know, for another secretary over there. But and a visual, meaning he was supposed to do a walkthrough and verify that the work got done. But it's the bastard child of egress. Who cares about it, right? Let it rain, let it snow. Who cares, right? So then all of a sudden you do a drive-by, you look up, it is painted. They did a paint job on it. They painted over everything, and you look for that tread that you saw originally, and it's back up. There's a couple of fresh bolts in it. What do? You go back and you release the violation. That has been done for 75 years. So let's fix every one of those problems, because it's a national problem. You're just not here. So we came in and we said, okay, step number one, the code already helps you. The code already says this. So we have to change code, or is it already giving you the power? Your first thing you're going to do, you're never going to write a scrape and paint violation ever again. You're going to write repair, paint, test. Every violation, I don't care how bad it looks or how great it looks. You know, even if it's pristine, you always walk up, hey, do you have a certificate for your fire escape? No, what's that? Oh, let me write you a violation. Repair, paint, test. Dude, it's only 10 years old. Okay, repair it, paint it, test it. Because you're going to get a phone call when they get that violation in the mail. And what are they going to ask you?
What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? You said, I don't know. That's not my job. You're supposed to get a
certification.
An engineer to go look at it. That's going to take care of whether or not you even need to repair it. The second thing you need to do by code is paint it. So what's paint mean? You go, gotta get it painted. Go, I can just have anybody paint it? No, because your fire escape is older than 1978, and the crazy EPA came in and said anything older than 78 presumed to have lead. So just make sure whoever touches it just has an EPA renovator's license. Do I need a permit?
Not to paint.
No, not to paint, but make sure that the guy that's going to be painting it has his EPA renovator's license, which most guys get on a weekend in that 8-hour course. And just make sure that they're not going to contaminate the site and get lead. That's pretty simple, okay? What's the word test mean? Oh, test means that once the fire escape has passed the engineer's review, and he's passed the confidence test on it, saying there is no rust in any of the internal connections, we can proceed to a load test. What's a load test? Load test, dude, you get weights, you put, like an elevator, you put steel plates up there, sandbags up there, water bags up there, or you create some cable contraption and you yank on the thing. And if it doesn't rip off your building, you passed. And then 5 years from today, we'll see you again. Very similar to our elevators, our trucks, our ladders. You understand load testing, right? It is a life safety thing. Not made for you and your, you know, because we wanted to pass a national law that said all landlords from now on must collect their rent checks through the fire escapes. And all tenants basically tape their rent check to the outside of their window and call their landlord or their management and say, hey, come and get your check. I see you didn't get the last two. They're still taped to the outside of my window. Come up the fire escape, because they can't get it any other way. Do you think we'd have any fire escape problems today? But that law is not, it's going to be a hard road to follow. But we have these guys we have these fire escapes there that are made for the tenants, and we need some guarantees. We have fire escape ladders on trucks, and we have ladders on. You guys ever gonna let me borrow your ladders?
Not usually.
So, and you're testing them for me, or then you're testing them for you?
Testing for us.
We're testing these fire escapes just for the tenants and just for the firemen. That's all we're testing them for. We don't care about the landlord. He's never gonna use it. So, and you're supposed to have 2 certified means of egress. How do you make this so that it's idiot-proof? First thing you do is you have a list. You have a checklist to open up a building, don't you? Does that include the sprinkler system has been certified?
Yeah.
Can you have right below that list, even if it's handwritten in for now, can you just start handwriting in fire escape certificate on file?
Yeah, we've been doing that for a while now.
Okay, and if it's just a checkbox now, will you ever forget it if it's part of a checklist? Just add it to your
Well,
checklist.
an actual checklist rather than a mental checklist?
No, not a mental checklist, because you'll forget about it. It's the bastard child of egress. 75 years that nobody knows even exists. It's like looking for homeless people. You know, if you don't look for them, you'll never see them. But they exist in every 4 corners. But you add it. You know, if you have a checklist to open up a building, and you've got room to handwrite in at the very bottom until you reprint your, because they're not going to make you throw away all the boxes full of things. So you have to create a little box and then write across fire escape certificate. And you just make it part of every one of your checklist. Will you open that building if there is no certificate on that fire escape, which is the second means of egress? Will you let that building open? Will you let that building continue to be open? Because every year you do certain inspections on commercials. You know, you sprinkle thing, great, your alarm thing's been checked, great, you da-da-da-da-da-da, the fire pump's been working, great. Where's the certificate for the fire escape? Where's the current certificate? Because yours is good for 5 years. Where is it? I gave one last year, yeah, but I just need a copy of it again to attach so I can let the building continue open. So, checklist is going to be helpful for you guys, just to, because you can't remember this stuff, there's too much, so add it to your checklist. So, we're now here, we're coming in with some ideas now, what do we do on your end so that we can get you guys to write the right way, which is repair, paint, test. Engineers, they're going to need something, right? Because what do you want, an opinion letter? To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape looks structurally sound and has been kept painted. You want that? Because I'll get that same guy to, also to save money, he's going to start inspecting your truck ladders and your regular ladders. I want him to opinion your ladders. No more expensive load tests on your trucks and stuff. It's a waste of money. Right?
That's what we were doing.
So now this engineer needs an exam, a paper. So we have one, and we kind of gave you an example of this already, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we need a vendor. We need the vendors to be, you know, caught, you know, sort of in the system. So what's the system? You're going to repair a fire escape. What do you need? Permit. Well, who's going to guide the guy to pull the permit? The engineer. What's he going to write? Is the vendor going to fix the fire escape from a confidence test? Or is it a whole new process of documenting a construction document of what the plan is going to be? Because there's only really 2 plans that he must satisfy you with prior to pulling a permit. That engineer is going to ask you, you know, this fire escape is not that bad. We've done the economics on this one. It's really worth spot repairing this fire escape and then load testing because it's actually cheaper for the client than a full refurb. But in some cases, he's going to tell the client, listen, you know, I've spoken with Ben, you know, what you really want to do here is a full refurb and avoid the load test. And you're going to get longer mileage out of this thing if you do a refurb, because this thing hasn't seen any maintenance in 75 years. So I don't recommend spot repairing this one and load testing this one. I recommend a full refurb because it's due. Most fire escapes have been refurbished in their 50th year. We're 25 years over. So we're going to have the permit process be a catch. And then the last part, because prior to signing off on a permit, what's the city code official want before he even goes out there to do a final?
Special inspection report.
Well, that's from the engineer, isn't it? The engineer is going to do a confidence test, a final confidence test before a final inspection done by the engineer, I mean by the code guy. So the code guy shows up and the first question he asks, do you have my confidence test from the structural engineer who did the exam before me? The guy says, no, he's going to do it after you. What's he say? See ya. So, let's see what we got. We came up with several things to answer a lot of these questions. This one came about, this is called the Repairs and Procedures Guidelines. I was in a class and we're saying, oh, do we have to like do ordinances and do we have to do special code changes? And the guy goes, there was a state official that was in my class. He goes, Cisco, every fire department and every code department has what's called procedures and guidelines. And basically it's their cheat notes for what they're trying to do. To basically, whether it's a plumbing situation, a solar panel situation, whatever, they're like, yeah, we've read the code, but we have this little cheat note that we use for our inspectors and also for anybody doing that job. We use this cheat note. And he goes, if you generate a cheat note, a repairs and procedures guideline, and give it to people, as long as it doesn't say who to use, and as long as it doesn't try to interpret the code incorrectly, and it's a general guideline of what you really want in layman's terms, he goes, these guys can just use it to basically write violations and hand people this little paper. So we did. We created this document, we've sent you a blank of this, and it comes in a PDF or a Word document, and we've sent you both, correct? Anything that's on here you can erase 100%. But what we usually do is we come in here, and you don't have to have the National Firescape Association, you can just have the City of Portland. We have only your information in here. This is just an example of the one we did, but he has an actual one that we did for Portland, and has your phone numbers on it, your email, and your names, not ours. Okay? We clip this over here. This is your website. So we go to your website, and we just take a little snapshot of the top of your portland.gov website, and we drop it in here. This over here is, you can modify, this can be modified, this can be modified, and we put your code over here, and I believe we put in the NFPA code there. And we usually put not only the NFPA code, but we try to squeeze the other codes in there also, but the main code is the first one. And this is how we fixed using this. So you go out and write a violation from now on every fire escape. You say, hey, I need, oh, by the way, I want to make sure that we understand, 75 years it took to screw this whole thing up. We're not trying to fix fire escapes right now. We're really trying to identify them. So we want a status. So Seattle did that. Seattle says, you know, they made it a code that says every fire escape must have a tag. We'll get the tags last. And they want a tag on a fire escape that says, when it's white, and you guys show up in the middle of the night, and they see the white tag, 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently affixed, what can they do?
Use it.
Use it. They see a yellow, what can they do?
Be very careful.
Be very careful. They see a red?
Stay off it.
Stay off it. Does that help you in change that little mentality of, you know, in case of fire, don't use fire escape? So we're really just trying